perfection is not the answer. It's performance. So now it's about performance over perfection. Let's get this out as quickly as possible because we are not living in perfection. I don't want you to be perfect as well, whoever I'm working with, my client. I want them to get on that camera without thinking, well, I'm not really camera ready, I'm not perfect. Look, so as long as your hair doesn't look like you just woke up and you have and you look presentable and you have your message, just start speaking, because perfection is stagnation. It's paralysis, right? It will paralyze you.
Welcome back, everybody, to the From Crisis to Justice podcast. I'm your host, Parag Amin, and I'm joined today by a special guest, Liana Zavo. Liana is the founder of her own PR company, and she is the CEO of Zavo Media PR Group, a globally recognized agency helping founders and organizations build powerful, lasting personal brands. She has over 15 years of entrepreneurial experience and a client network spanning 12 countries. She's become a trusted strategist in public relations and media authority. Her Be Epic method has helped thousands of entrepreneurs break through the noise, get featured, and grow with purpose. She's a passionate advocate for women in business and a contributor to Forbes and Entrepreneur magazines. And her mission is clear: to help leaders turn their story into their greatest asset. Liana, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Parag. I am so excited to get into the details.
Let's do it. So look, how did you end up in PR?
I had this grit. I knew that I had to become a publicist, even though I am a college dropout. But there were so many things that were just pointing me in the right direction that I need to tell other people's stories and uplift their personalities and inspire audiences. It all started with my grandmother. She was a journalist in Russia, a political journalist, and her telling stories of how she navigated, a lot of personalities. I was just so amazed and inspired that I aspired to be like her. So I knew that it's in my DNA, but just a lot of things happened in my life where I got married young. I had my son at 19, so my son is in college, and it's just so much happened. And I had to find a way to get into PR, not the traditional route. Even though I did go and get my certificate, I hired a lot of mentors. I think that when you don't have the traditional route and you don't have a degree, I think you need to double down so much more because there's so much more expected of you. And so I'm still learning. You're always a student and of this craft. The landscape is always evolving. And so here I am doing what I love.
I love it. That's great. Being passionate about what you do is so critical. And I think it makes a world of difference in terms of the results you get and the way clients even feel when they're working with you.
Absolutely. It's the energy, right? It's what you can be. There's so many publicists, Prague. I always say that there's so many PR companies, but how you deliver the message and how you make your clients feel, how I hold their hand through the whole process, that's what really sets me apart from my competitors.
Yeah, 100%. So, as a part of your work, I'm sure you've helped entrepreneurs navigate both personal and professional crises. So when somebody's brand is under fire, where do you advise clients to begin to rebuild or reposition? Because, ultimately, I think your brand is in a way an extension of yourself, and your business is in a way an extension of yourself. And when something you've built and is so close to you is under fire or under attack, whether it's a negative review online or somebody's saying something that is damaging to your reputation, it very much feels like a personal attack. So if somebody's going through something like that, what recommendations or advice do you have for business owners and entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. And so being a crisis manager, and I help navigate your story. So first of all, Parag, I have to tell you, 15 years of being in this business and seeing firsthand that every business will have crisis. There's no way that you're not going to face some sort of crisis. So it can be from small to big, but it's all about how do you bounce back? How do you bounce back from falling into this crisis? Number one thing I would highly recommend is to just come up and be authentic, right? Transparent with your audience. This is what happened, and I would like to address it. You want to hold control and be in control of your narrative. Don't let someone else take control of your narrative, right? That's number one thing. Take accountability for what has gone wrong and make sure that you speak about it firsthand. There are a lot of times that attorneys would say to their clients, do not talk about it, cannot talk about that in public right now. Make sure you hold off. That in itself will create more of a crisis because it's time. Time is of essence. When something happens, you have to address it right there and then, and make sure that you come off very authentic and admit to your mistake. Apologize. This is what happened. And if you were to turn, what I do for my clients is I say, okay, well, this is what happened to you. How can we mitigate this and find another approach to your personal brand so that you can come out in the limelight and highlight and spotlight you? Well, we have to find ways of perhaps find a charity. Let's give back. You need to find ways in order to come off as a positive image in the public eye. That's the whole purpose of PR as well, right? When you're in a crisis, what can we do to find ways to correct what has gone wrong? So I'll give you a small example of when a client is sounding like someone else. Their story doesn't stay true to someone like themselves, and they kind of copying and copywriting other people's posts, and they're sounding like someone else in their industry. And so that in itself created a huge crisis. And so you need to stop feeling like you can be the face and the voice of your brand. You need to step up, be the voice, because you're different. You might think your message resonates like someone else is saying what they're saying is the same thing, right? Another attorney is saying the same thing as you are, for example, but that shouldn't stop you from expressing yourself and actually building your brand, because you have a different way of delivering the message. So always think about, how do you deliver the message? It's your tonality, it's your energy, it's your presence. So stop sounding like everyone else. Everyone else is taken. Be yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting because I give very similar advice to clients when they're going through litigation. I think a lot of times, there's a feeling or maybe a fear of just being transparent about what's going on and feeling vulnerable. But at the end of the day, when it comes to litigating cases or maybe even PR, from what I'm understanding you say, it comes down to being authentic, because at the end of the day, when people try to hide the reality, when people try to hide the truth, I think inevitably the truth comes out, and then ultimately the person who tried to hide the truth looks way worse. So it's much better to embrace, I think, the bad facts, at least as it comes to litigation and disputes, rather than try to hide them. And it sounds like, is that what you're saying about PR as well, is learn how to embrace them?
Absolutely. Learn how to actually be ahead of the game. So you know that you're messed up and it has come, it's already there. So instead of having journalists knocking on your doors and saying, can you give us a statement? What went wrong? Avoid that. Avoid it at all costs. Just come out and say what happened so that you won't be pulled in so many directions to give a statement.
Yeah, I agree with that. And look, I mean, part of this is maybe ironically, in the age of social media, I feel that people are shyer than ever, and a little bit more introverted than ever, in the sense of, even with the growth of social media, a lot of personal interactions have decreased, real time in-person interactions. And so I think people feel a little bit more insecure than ever before as well. So what advice do you have for business owners who are maybe not as extroverted or as confident as they'd like to be about being on camera, being out there, giving statements?
That's the best part of my career and what I do, my profession. I think that me preparing you and helping you with your confidence and unleash that story, it's like really unveiling those parts of you. It's like taking an onion apart. There's so many layers to you. So the very first thing that I help with my clients is the confidence. It's 80% is mindset. How you're telling your story really stems from that. And then I wrote a book about it. It's the Be Epic method that I teach my entrepreneurs, my professionals I work with. It's the 80% of belief that your story matters, that you're actually going to make a difference with your story. And personal brand, right, is that's where it stems from. If you don't have a personal brand and you feel that, I'll just kind of have my professional brand speak for itself or my company speak for itself. But right now, social media is so personal. We want to know who you are on a personal level. So if you are struggling to tell your story, and a lot of attorneys to have that problem, they're very risk adverse for them to come on and actually talk about their story, it takes a lot of courage. So what I do is, first of all, I have my challenge that I do with my attorneys. What we do is we have this 21 days of where I hone in on your messaging. I make sure that you are actually speaking and conveying your message accordingly, and we go through that. It's a whole process. And the number one thing I would say is, what are you trying to do? What is the impact you're trying to make, right? As a thought leader, everyone has to be a thought leader in their industry. People will come to you only if they are seeking advice, right? And they're seeking advice not from influencers, but thought leaders. So are you a thought leader in a business? Yes, you are. So then what are your insights? How can people learn from you? Are you a business thought leader? So that is what I create. I turn leaders into thought leaders. And the number one thing I would say, well, if I were to come to you, what insights will I learn from you? What are the key takeaways? Just lead with that. If you can start leading with your key takeaways, your insights, what you can teach the audience, what is the value you're bringing, right? Because a personal brand stands on three pillars. It's the purpose, the value proposition. What is the purpose you're bringing, right, to your audience? How consistent are you with that message, and how authentic are you? So you have to lead with authenticity, consistency, and then your purpose, which is your value.
Yeah, and when it comes to consistency and value, do you recommend that people have one or maybe a few specific taglines or positions they have that they continue to repeat? Or is it really based more around like fundamental type core values around what that person specifically values and then speak from those? Or is it something completely different that I haven't mentioned? Meaning it's neither one of those. It's something completely different.
Yeah, it's actually all of that plus more. So when you're speaking about, we don't want to hear just about you as a professional. It gets boring. We want to know about your experiences, unique qualities, what sets you apart, your personality. That's what a personal brand is. How are you as a team player? What kind of collaborations are you into? So that showcases who you are on the inside. Perhaps, a day spent with your kids, get a little bit more personal. Key takeaways from being with your kids all day, for example, or something that kind of is like a conversation starter. And also we can get to know you personally, because remember, at the end of the day, people want to connect with you on an emotional level, right? People want to buy from other people, whether they're products or services, when they're emotionally connected with you. And how can people be emotionally connected with you? Not on the surface level, but on the very authentic level, right? You want to get them into your life, into your story. I mean, and then the question that comes up, well, how raw can you get with your audience? How much do you let them into your life? Well, get as raw as possible, I would say, and authentic as possible, so that they can feel that they can be relevant to you, right? Is there resonance there? Are they finding a relevance? So if they find relevance and resonance, I think that in itself, you did a great job of bringing the audience to find out more about you. So a personal brand, a professional brand stems on being personal, which is your unique value proposition, your experiences, your personality, what sets you apart. Your personality essentially is what really makes you different from another attorney in litigation, correct? So that in itself will definitely help you stand out from the crowded marketplace.
Yeah, and what would you say to the people who think that they don't have a great personality, or that it's not a personality worth following?
they don't, I think everyone has an amazing personality. You just have to dig deeper, right? And that's where I come in as a personal branding expert and a public relations specialist and a strategist. I make sure that we hone in on that messaging, and then you're like, oh wow, that's the aha moment. That's like the light bulb went off. Oh, I didn't know I have to take this approach to hone in on my messaging. And then we take your messaging and then we go a step further. Let's now make sure that relatability, which is your personal brand, you're relating to others on social media, right? And how you present yourself in front of the audience. Now we're taking a step further where I'm saying, okay, it's time, Parag, to take you and get you an exclusive interview. Let's get you an exclusive interview in a top tier publication. Now that's the credibility. Let's get you recognized because you're credible now. Relatability on social media is one thing. You're relatable, it's great. When crisis happens, especially, you want to go into press right away. We have to take you into press because that in itself is third party that actually validates your story. So who's validating your story? Who's actually speaking about you? Are you being highlighted and spotlighted? So that's a misconception. Oh, I'm on social media, I post, that's good enough. That's not at all, actually, because that's a surface level. Like, who else is speaking about you? So that's another part of finding ways to mitigate your crisis as well. And not even crisis, just to build your strong online reputation. And just statistically proven, 82% of people will Google you before stepping foot in your location, signing a contract, or even getting on a call with you. So that's a big percentage. So if you don't have anything that's credible on your social media, on your online presence, which is your online reputation, they're going on to the next one, right? So you need to make sure that not only all your communication on your social media is being cohesive, right? It's flowing, but also you taking that and then having PR done for you. And then perhaps marketing later on and advertising. But the two most important things is personal branding and PR.
Right. Yes. And, I think a big part of this is what a lot of maybe smaller businesses don't realize, and something that I learned as I started taking on bigger and more either important or more valuable cases, especially with celebrity clients and that kind of thing. I think a lot of people don't realize how many people are behind the scenes. It's not just one lawyer. It's not only multiple lawyers, usually it's a team, as well as other people on the team, which typically includes a publicist or PR person. And many times it's a combination of people who are helping craft the messaging, helping ensure it gets out to the right audience, to the right publications, that the right interviews are strategically done and placed, and a lot of media preparation that goes into it. So let me ask you this. I think it's made sense, at least when I've seen it, when we've got clients who are celebrities, who are in this public spotlight, and a news story breaks and it gets into major publications. But I don't know exactly when it makes sense if it's let's say it's a smaller business or a smaller company, or somebody doesn't have the same type of following, or the media isn't naturally kind of reporting on it because it doesn't naturally come up as almost like gossip about a celebrity. So what are your thoughts, Liana, on how big should a company be when they really kind of consider hiring a publicist or someone like yourself, relating to whether it's a lawsuit or some kind of crisis?
So yeah, this is a twofold question. So first of all, one thing that I've been working with over and over is that it's not just, and I want to dispel this myth, it's not for big companies. Okay. This PR, I even work with solopreneurs. PR is also, and I don't work with, when you said the story breaks, and I don't work with entertainment. I only do corporate PR. So if you tell me, how can I get this, the story itself, right, in PR will get as much buzz as possible, but on a corporate level, right? So I'm going to get you into Bloomberg, for example, Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, Inc. And as small as like one person running the company to a Fortune 500, I can't tell you, Parag, that it's only meant for X amount of employees working for you. It really depends how much you want to invest in your business. How do you want to be, how do you want to be different from others? Are you setting yourself apart? So when it comes to entertainment PR, it's totally different. I know you work with a lot of celebrities, like you said, but I don't work with celebrities. I work solely like yourself, attorneys who want to get thought leadership. Thought leadership is totally different than, creating a whole like media buzz. We are getting you out there as a thought leader because we want you to stand out from other thought leaders. So that's the difference. And when it comes to thought leadership, even solopreneurs who are just starting their firm, and it's very rare to see that, but I worked with one person before, but mostly, there's a team, a little team behind them. A press release is great to start with, but I like to work on a yearly basis. So just to go back to your question, I think it's important to understand that how much of investment and what is the best promotional tool for you. There's marketing, there's advertising, but what is more credible and gives you the most, which is going to be the ROI, which is the most cost-effective promotional tool is PR, because PR it creates trust with the audience, right? We are creating trust that you are the go-to industry expert for them to work with. Marketing doesn't do that, and advertising will never do that. So when a third party validates you, such as a Forbes magazine, for example, your story, that's PR. So you know what, I can't say it's all about how much you want to invest, and PR is not even that expensive, to be honest with you. It's very affordable.
Yeah. So what does that mean? What does that mean, dollars and cents wise? Realistically, what can someone spend, and what kind of numbers probably make sense for various kinds of size businesses, or maybe based on the type of reach and audience and appearances they want to get?
It's tailored to each one. Like you just said, what do you want? Are you looking to get on podcasts, for example? Because I also have a network. Are you looking to, we also help with like LinkedIn as well. Like if you want to just start with your personal brand and get your thought leadership on LinkedIn and then move into publications, we do that as well. So price wise, I started with a retainer of $5,000 per month, and I curate that depending on what we're getting you, and it goes all the way up to $15,000 to $20,000 a month, really depending on what I'm getting for you. I'm also in 12 countries. Do you want to go global? Do you want global recognition? So we get you into different partnerships strategically. It's not only that I'm getting you into publications. I get you on TED Talk, for example. We help you with that, getting you on stages, executive positioning, speaking opportunities. At the end of the day, as a thought leader, you're also a speaker, right? You want to speak on different conferences. So how are you being positioned? So all of that I have to take into consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting as well is I think a lot of people don't realize that many times there's invitations that get provided to speakers, but then there's very much, and I would guess, just based on what I've seen, that it might even be the majority of these conferences, that it is very much a pay to play, meaning like you have to pay generally to be able to speak or present. Can you talk at all about that in terms of, is that accurate? Is that not accurate? And when should somebody really be thinking about, hey, look, this makes sense as an investment for me to pay to speak at a conference versus no, it doesn't make sense to do this?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I have conferences. I do summits every 4 months myself, for my audience, for my clients, and everyone that speaks. I have anywhere from 8 to 10 panelists every time I have a summit, and that's about 3 times a year. So all of my panelists, they are sponsors as well. So what does that mean? They will be featured. They have credibility aspect of it. They'll be featured on like a step and repeat. They'll be in the press, in the media, because the whole point of the summit is how do you position yourself, right? And so if you're investing in yourself, so then that is a way for you to step into the limelight, right? For me to give you that ability to speak on my summit, you need to also invest into your personal brand and into your online reputation. If I see you don't have an online reputation and you really have never positioned yourself, then yes, you will have to invest in order for you to speak on my panel. But then again, if you have done immense work and you are incredible, you still need something. I think there's always a press release. There's always something that you can kind of work on. But there's always so many other speaking opportunities that you don't need to pay for. Maybe they're smaller. Also, if you have a big following, like huge following, and you have a lot of impact, you're making a big impact, I think that in itself speaks volume, and you perhaps don't even need to pay for it, right? But if I'm talking about like panelists who have no online reputation, then they need to invest in themselves, right? So it really depends where you're speaking. And it also depends because LinkedIn right now, as you know, it's huge, right? It's bigger than Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, because now they incorporated videos and video in itself, right? 89% of founders are aligned with video content when it comes to aligning themselves with brand values, right? So if I don't see any videos on your LinkedIn, I don't even understand your messaging, because as I mentioned, 89% is a big number. It's a huge statistic. So you have to start getting videos out there. And once you start doing that, you're already creating a very compelling narrative. And that in itself will help you attract different opportunities, right? You'll have people knocking on your social media door, like, can you speak here? Can you get on my TV show? But up until that time, I think you should definitely, find a team that can help you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of this is, what when it comes to branding, because you've helped so many people and companies brand, what's a branding mistake that you've seen throughout? Like, even the best founders have made this, and if people could just get this thing right, this one thing, if you had to pick one thing, it would help them tremendously, like just build their brand better.
Consistency. I've seen that they would do one video, they will slack, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. Or even like, answer these questions. Can you just answer these questions? We need to get you into a publication. We need this right away. For the look, when you're signing up to do PR, you have to understand that it is going fast. We are having deliverables after deliverables. And so if you're not answering those questions, if you don't have time for us, don't even think about PR, because PR is an investment in yourself, right? And so we're honing in, we're polishing off your messaging, making sure that you're positioned as the authority in your industry. So the number one thing I think what I've seen is that I don't have time right now. This is too much for me, not being consistent. And then once you're not consistent, then it's taking a toll on us. And, I can't have that, then all the agreements that I've done with the journalists, like, can you get this one here? Can you feature this, our client, right? With their messaging, it's just going to fall behind because you're just not doing your work as well.
Right, Liana, absolutely. Because, I think pretty much everything requires either a commitment of time, of money, or both. So when it comes to PR, we talked a little bit about the financial investment component of things, but can you touch a little bit on time? Like, realistically, how much time should somebody who's thinking about investing in this really put aside per week or per month to do it right?
Yeah. So starting off, I would say anywhere from like 3 to 5 hours a week. That means that we're getting on a strategy call every week, sometimes twice a week, to make sure that strategy has to be there, right? The foundation has to be laid out. So need a 45 minutes to an hour right there. And then you have another hour to answer maybe questions, kind of. So maybe 3 hours to begin with, and then it kind of stacks on that. Gets more and more depending if you want to get featured on TV, if I'm getting you interviewed on major national TV stations. So it really depends. So I need to get you media training, all of that takes a lot of time. So, but that in itself is such a reward, because there's nothing like PR. And a lot of people don't understand the essence of PR. It's always like, oh, is this marketing? No, two different animals, right? Marketing goes hand in hand with PR, right? Once we get you featured on TV, then we need marketing to kind of distribute it, get the buzz going. But the essence, right, the credibility source is PR. You can't do marketing without the credibility source. What is that? How am I positioning you?
And when it comes to the word PR, public relations, I think there's different concepts of how people think of it. So, what do you think is the right way to think about PR? What is PR?
PR is your public image. How are you being perceived? Your positive public image, right? And so it can be PR is in person, PR is online. Way before, it was all about in person, correct? Before any of these publications came out online, it was all about how are you navigating your story? How are you speaking to the audience, making sure that it resonates, your message resonates? So writing your speeches, all of that is PR, right? It just depends how we are looking at it. And so I think that PR is all about how are you coming, how is your persona in the limelight? Is it positive public image, and how are you being found? Now, especially, you need to be found. It's about recognition. How are you being trusted? You're being trusted based on one thing: your credibility and your recognition, right? And so that is your positive image. So if you tell me, well, I have a million likes on LinkedIn or Instagram, that is not your that's not the official public image. The public image is when I Google you, that's which is the digital real estate. What shows up in your digital real estate? That is your PR.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. So, in terms of your PR while still scaling, what are some lessons that you've learned about leading a team and staying true to your vision during especially high growth phases, or if your vision, to the extent that making sure your team is sharing your vision and growing with your vision?
When I started hiring my team, I was always about perfection. I make sure that the PR campaigns have to be perfect. And that was something that actually held my company, and the deliverables weren't coming out right away as it's supposed to, because perfection is not the answer. It's performance. So now it's about performance over perfection. Let's get this out as quickly as possible, because we are not living in perfection. I don't want you to be perfect as well, whoever I'm working with, my client. I want them to get on that camera without thinking, well, I'm not really camera ready, I'm not perfect. Look, as long as your hair doesn't look like you just woke up, and you have a little, and you look presentable, and you have your message, just start speaking. Because perfection is stagnation. It's paralysis, right? It will paralyze you. So I always teach my team, in order for us to be successful, there is no perfection in this company. We have to have performance over perfection.
I love that. I've never heard that phrase before. Did you come up with that?
Yes, I did, because I
I'm going to
saw what
borrow
it
that.
has hindered my growth a lot. Because we want it to be perfect, we have to make sure this, but it's all about, especially in New York, especially in America, we have to go, go, go. It's not about, oh, the journalists didn't get back to us because we're still kind of trying to make sure their story is perfect. Who has time to wait months in, out, like 2 months pass, and there's no deliverables from a publicist or PR company? Can you imagine? You're paying a retainer and there's no deliverables for a month because the story is not perfect. We didn't really understand. So we need to performance right away, get it out. You need to chase the momentum. You have to make sure the momentum is there, and then consistency, and then perfection. I mean, one way or another it will be there, but there's never perfection. Like the word itself, like I hate the word perfection, right? Because I think that in itself, like it really holds a lot of people back. I'm not perfect right now. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. My messaging is not perfect. I'll wait till tomorrow. I don't have the investments right now. Like you need to just go with it, right? Keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the word perfect or perfection is kind of like a unicorn, meaning it describes something that doesn't actually exist in reality,
Yeah.
but people use it as this metric and excuse of why things aren't done, why things aren't sent out. So I 100% agree with you, Liana. What do you
Yeah.
think if somebody's looking to get started today, and of
Mm.
course they could reach out to you, um, and hire you to talk to you about the various services you could provide. And I'd like you to maybe mention and talk a little bit about how they could do that. And if you could, maybe just touch on also, if somebody's not quite ready to reach out to you yet, what's something they can do right now? What's something that they can do today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my 21-day personal brand building challenge, which is on Eventbrite, which is 21 days. You'll have me in your corner and we'll work together. That gives you a taste of what PR does for you. And it gives you a taste of what personal branding can do for you. We're honing in on your messaging. So it's no commitment, 2,500 right there. I think it's a great way just to understand the essence and significance, what it can do for you. And they can get in touch with me. I mean, I have my social media handles. So if you can go on LinkedIn, actually, you can book an appointment there, which gives you anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. We'll give you an online audit of a strategy, what you can do today to start working. Because I think that anytime you get on a call with me, I want you to walk away with value. So you'll walk away with a lot of nuggets of how to navigate your compelling story, what you should have, what you shouldn't have. So we'll go through that. And I'll tell you, at the end of the day, not everyone is qualified for PR, right? Really, I'll be honest with you. If you have a lot of lawsuits pending against you, that's crisis management. So we need to do crisis first and then get into PR. So there's a lot that we need to kind of see what's going on. So I just had this case recently. He's like, listen, I really want you to do PR for me. And then when I Googled his name, I'm like, you just came out of prison. You were 5 years in prison. Like, and he's like, yeah, I need to change my image. I am, a CFO now. I was in real estate. I mean, you see, I need to make sure that not everybody can do PR right away. We need to start with crisis management, right? And then kind of ease into PR. So not everyone is qualified right away for PR.
Yeah, absolutely. It, like most things, it's a gradual process. There are multiple stepping stones to making that progress, and there's a lot of various pieces that go into it. And I will
Mhm.
say, look, I think a big part of this is it is difficult to try to piece together and figure out on your own. That's another thing is pretty much everybody who's got a big following has people who help them with these aspects. They have professionals who coach them, guide them, even though from the outside looking in, there is an aspect of it seeming like it's effortless and they just figured it out on their own. I don't think that really any of them figured out on their own. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's time is as essence, right? If you really take yourself seriously, you will delegate. If you really take your business seriously, delegate. Who has time for this? You could, I mean, don't get me wrong. You can go right now today and start pitching your story to journalists. Go on LinkedIn, find a journalist that's perhaps in New York Times, find a journalist who is in New York Post and say, hey, can you get me a story on this? Guess what's going to happen? Crickets. There's, do you know how much they get bombarded with different pitches? Now you have a publicist who has this Rolodex of foster relationships, who makes your life easier, who says, okay, well, your story is going to go right here because I already know this journalist, and I'm sure I'm going to get it there in about 3 weeks. You're going to get into that publication. So that is a time that I'm saving for you if you're really serious about growing who you are and making more money for yourself, right? It's all about the ROI.
That's right. Yeah, I agree with you. And, it's interesting because we actually look at things like that internally as well at my law firm. So, my background's in finance. We always look for ways that we can create an ROI for our clients, which I think, unfortunately, is a very unique way of looking at things. And I say unfortunately because I think that more lawyers should look at it that way. Ultimately, you've got a client who's paying you, and whether it's hourly, monthly, whatever the arrangement is, and they want a return, and if they're spending more on attorney's fees than they're getting back in results or in recovery, then ultimately you're going to have an unsatisfied or dissatisfied client. So, at the end of the day, ROI is the name of pretty much every game.
Absolutely. And that's why performance over perfection. Like, you have to get this out. And that's why I pride myself on this. Like, I know that I'm so good at what I do.
I love it. I appreciate it, Liana. I appreciate you being
Thank
on
you.
today and sharing these
Yeah, thank you.
golden nuggets of wisdom. I know I've learned a lot.
Uh-huh. I'm
And
sure. That's great.
yeah, and look, to the listeners, I hope you all learned a lot. Liana charges uh, good money for her time, and I think that she's given a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And this is stuff that takes years and years and many hours to learn. So, Liana, I very much appreciate, again, you being on and sharing some of this wisdom with all of us. And to the listeners, if you found this helpful and useful, feel free to reach out to Liana if you want to work with her. And if you like the podcast, make sure you like and subscribe so you know when the next podcast is airing. So, Liana, thank you again for being on.
Thank you so much. This was fun.